They're into the field, and Garrison Hurst takes advantage of it. He takes the handoff, hits to his right, gets to the 20. He's in the 30. Needs to cut in. He comes back up the right sideline. Breaks a third tackle. Comes down to the 30. He's down to the 20. He's down to the 10. He's down to the 5. He's into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! 49ers! 96-yard run from scrimmage. Garrison Hurst breaking tackle after tackle. Sweeps down the sideline. Throws off bodies like clothes after a marathon.
Young, back to throw. In trouble, he's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again, to the 35, cuts back at the 30, to the 20, the 50, the 10. He died. Touchdown, 49ers.
Third down, Alex takes the snap. Alex looking down in post, and it's good! Touchdown! Touchdown, 49ers!
It is second down. Ryan takes the snap, throws the slant to the left side. It's Russell, intercepted! The 49ers pick it, and Navarro Bowman is redemption! Navarro Bowman running it all the way for the touchdown! No greater redemption!
San Francisco 49ers, we can do whatever we want.
Click, click, boom! What's going on, faithfuls? It's your boy Mike from the Nothing But Niners crew, guys. We are back, man. Joined by our GM, Tony. We are here to break down the first couple of picks for the 49ers here. The second day is over. The 49ers went off the board at pick 61, 93, and 105. No movement at all. Unusual.
Yeah.
Maybe more than unusual for the 49ers is drafting another running back, making it 3 running backs in 2 consecutive seasons in the draft. In the draft, guys. Position that people formerly thought the Shanahan did not waste prospects or picks on in the draft. So we're going to break all that stuff down here. We're going to do the show for you guys for about 25 more minutes, and then we are going to have a separate feed going right into the draft coverage of day 3 in the NFL. So Tony, man, where do you want to start, bro? The floor is yours. Let's talk about this, man. Go ahead. What you got, man?
I don't know. Listen, today's 4 through 7, rounds 4 through 7, 6 picks. 6 picks. Can they be aggressive? They might move up today, maybe move back. The strike zone to move back is that 6th round where they have the 2 back-to-back picks. I think they could potentially jump up and go to 4, come up higher in round 4. But we'll talk about that in the next show. Let's talk about the recap, okay, of yesterday, day 2 of the draft. We had pick 61, 93, and 105. At 61, we took Drake Jackson, okay? Drake Jackson, like I explained yesterday, my heart stopped for a minute. I was just on a space, and I said it to some of the guys on here. I had PTSD from Israel Ifiani, who the Niners drafted years ago. But, again, came home last night late, woke up this morning early, looking at some film with him. The kid has talent. And one thing that stood out on the film for me was kind of like USC used him very similar to the way Aldon Smith was used in Missouri. Standing up on the edge, standing up in between the center guard tackle gap, dropping in coverage. These guys aren't that type of player. These guys are put your hand in the ground, go get that damn quarterback. So I'm not comparing them to each other, but it was similar usage because when I was watching his game film, I was like, holy shit, this looks like Aldon Smith, or the way he would just line up and align on the defense. But going back and watching him, you see why the Niners drafted him, right? And we know this administration, John Lynch, loves the defensive ends, loves stockpiling the defensive ends and pass rush. So, we're going to be doing this for a half hour, so I'm going to cut it short. But after watching it, I see the film tells me why they drafted him, okay? And he could be potentially a nice pairing with Bosa for years to come. 21 years old, high ceiling, a lot of positives. And as far as the third round pick at 93, Nick Cross was still on the board, safety, need. A couple centers still on the board. But the Niners choose to go a running back. Now, due to all the injuries that this team had over the years, guess what? Sermon went down. There were points of the season. Sermon went down. Mitchell went down. Moser went down the first week of the year. And guess what? They tried to implement Hasty. And the offense immediately just bogged down. And you know what they did? They made their running back room a lot stronger this year. More physical runner. And now you're pushing potentially if Sermon pans out, Mitchell to the third down role. Now your running back depth is a lot more deeper than it was previous years. You know, could they be concerned about Mitchell's knee? Could they be concerned about Jeff Wilson Jr.'s knee? So at first you wanted the safety, but now you understand. You see the skill set, very patient runner, makes his decision, runs downhill, and he explodes. Tyreek Hill, 1.5 10-yard split in his 40. This guy right here, 1.52, 1.53 in a 10-yard split in his 40. So he has the explosion once he locks in and makes his decision and commits. Pick 105, Danny Gray. Love it. Love it. I'm saying it now, love it. Love Danny Gray. Love what he brings to this team. He had a teammate, Reggie Robinson, team captain, leader, was projected to be their number one wide receiver. Not with Danny Gray in town. Danny Gray took that role. And you see why Kyle wanted him. He can work the middle of the field, short, intermediate, deep, has the speed to take a top off the defense, has his, issues with some drops. Okay. It is what it is. It's nothing to be proud of, but something you can work on. Things that you can't teach is his speed and his route running ability. You see why you understand why the Niners drafted this kid and added him to the arsenal. Again, surrounding Trey with another weapon. So, like a bunch of people, they were like, this draft, what are they doing? You sit, you calm down, you remove yourself from the heat of the moment, you watch some tape, you see what they're doing.
So, I'm looking around Twitter and I'm trying to get a feel for how people feel about the draft. And I'll be honest with you, I'm seeing a lot of very, very low grades, right? And, draft grades are just fun. It's really just what did you think of the draft? It's not about how good these guys are going to be, their production in the NFL or anything like that. Are they going to pan out or not? When people are assigning draft grades, it's did the 49ers do what you expected them to do? And so last night, I tweeted B, solid B, not B plus, not a B minus, a very solid B. And then 49ers Hive quote tweeted it, and they were like, what grade did you give the 49ers draft? I saw D's, I saw C minuses, I saw D minuses. I don't know if I saw anything like close to a B. Now, maybe that's me looking for negativity. I'm sure someone out there thought the Niners had a good draft, right? But what it showed me was that it was more about personal expectations, right? It wasn't about what the Niners actually did. It was about personal expectations. So going into this whole process, Tony, you and I talked about 49ers setting up their team to go BPA, right? And with Jackson falling to 61, they said we couldn't believe he was there. We didn't think that we had a shot at getting him there, right? That says, okay, that's a BPA pick. But then the question mark comes in at pick 93 with the running back, right? And this is where people are like, that's not BPA. He wasn't even the best running back. But the best based off of what? What the 49ers look for in a running back? Right. Or was he just, so was it traits, or was it more about he wasn't the guy that you guys liked? Because if the Niners are truly going BPA, edge, running back, wide receiver, and a class that is deep on wide receivers, I'm not surprised at any of this. And then the flip side to this was, Tony, I asked you all week leading up to the draft, probably all month, the 49ers really need to go offensive lineman or safety. I kept asking that question because I was saying it for a while. I have a lot of confidence in the offensive lineman. I understand that not everybody else may, right? But if you're not picking an offensive lineman to start, why spend that high of a draft pick on them instead of getting someone that's going to help your team immediately?
I agree with that, but I agree with that to the point. I do think this time, and I said this yesterday when we were together, and I said this yesterday on the show, whatever. I said you need to stop going season by season and trying to figure out who your center is going to be. They need to take a center this draft. They need to take one. They need to develop him. They need to get him ready, because if Alex Mack comes back this year, he's done next year. His contract's over. I don't think he signs another one. If he's taking this long to commit and say he's returning, which I don't think he is, but if he's taking this long to think about it, I do think Next year, the kid that's drafted this year will be ready to play. And they got to stop with this. Okay, we'll sign Alex Mack this year. Okay, now we'll move Brunskill there. No. Get a guy, groom him, prepare him, play him.
We talked about the Malik Willis pick off camera. I believe we were off camera. This was at the end of the night when you were wrapping up the rest of the draft board. And I said one of the positive things about him not being taken in the first round or even the second round is no one is now expecting him to come in on day one. The way that everyone expected Trey Lance to come in on day one, it's a blessing in disguise to be picked later because now you are not expected to be the savior. You are not expected to be the immediate guy thrown in there, right? We've seen talented quarterbacks go to shitty situations and get thrown in too early, and they look bad. People say, oh, man, was this the right pick? Look at Justin Fields. We know how talented he was coming into the draft, right? The Bears get him. He plays too early, and now people are like, oh, man. They're not tapping out on him, but people are a little hesitant on him, right? You look at David Carr, right? We saw what happened right here in our backyard, right? We saw what happens when you put Alex Smith in and the offensive line isn't ready or the team isn't ready or you know what I mean? You can rush a good quarterback in too soon. So is that the Niners' thought process with one of these centers, specifically the center position? If we take a center at 61, raise your hand if you expect him to play this year. Because I would. If the Niners are taking a center at 61, everybody watching would be expecting that guy to come in and play right away. Everybody would. So I don't think it's a mistake that they didn't take those guys where they did. Now I got a super chat here from Sean. Thanks, Sean. He says, how do you guys feel about Minnie saying Niners taking players too early? Seems like that happens a lot in rounds 1 through 3. It's 4 and 7 when scouts take over. Tony, why don't you give your recap, your thoughts on this first, and then I'm gonna jump back in after you.
I agree with that. I think your GM, your director of player personnel, they pretty much, along with the scouts, but I think that they have the final say with those guys. Round 1, 2, 3, 4. I still think they're heavily involved, but they're more allowing the scouts to speak and be more involved. But I will say this: in the latter part, 5, 6, 7, I think the scouts jump up on the table and start pounding the table for people. How many times have you heard it? Like, Tariq Ahmad was in love with this guy and he felt he could be an asset for the team and jumped up and said, we need to get this guy. We need to get him. Please, let's draft him here. He's going to be this. He's going to be that. And then they say, listen, with the 6th pick, 220 overall, let's take this guy. Tariq Ahmad's high on him. We like what we see on film. Let's roll with it. So, that's the way it is. But, that's the way you want it in a working atmosphere. It's not just one person. It should be as a group, a collective group effort. So
all the time.
That's what you like. That's what you like to see. You don't want to say, shut up, sit down. I want this guy. No. Because honestly, I'm not going to break my balls working for you because you don't give a shit what I have to say. So what is my word? Nothing to you? No, you do it as a group. And that's what I like. The Niners work as a group.
And to Sean's point here, right? I think the 49er fan base, this is going to sound like I'm hating on us, and I'm not. I think we got spoiled with finding studs later in rounds. Most teams get skill position players in rounds 1 through 3. That includes running backs even, right? If teams think that a wide receiver is really good, they don't wait till the 5th or 6th round to get them. Those are the guys that, well, let's just see, right? If there's a wide receiver that you really like, you're not waiting that late. You're going to go out there and you're going to get this guy. And specifically with the skill position, the running backs, right? Good running backs get taken early. It's not a lot of them, but the ones that people like, they go in the first 3 rounds. They do. Everyone else is just a flyer. Everyone else is just taking a flyer on those guys. Skill positions get picked earlier. We are so used to the team having success later in the draft with guys like George Kittle, with guys like Elijah Mitchell. You know what I'm saying? We're so used to that happening that we sit here and think, man, the Niners should have been getting, linemen and corners, defensive players early. That's where the good ones are. And we should have been saving the skill positions for later on when we can get them how we always get them. It's us taking something for granted. It's us, but the flip side is also this. The Niners get really good defensive linemen later in drafts. The Niners go out there and they get some good offensive linemen later in drafts. So I'm not concerned with it, Sean. Like I said, that was part of my comment. I saw a lot of pushback from the faithful online, and I just think that we're looking at things based off of how we thought they were going to be doing it, and not how the team was actually going to do it. So expectations. That's how you end up disappointed. Expectations. All right. We got another super chat here. We got about 10, 12 more minutes here. We got another super chat here. This one is from 49ers George. Oh, yeah, 365. He says, I loved Drake Jackson pick. Been on him a minute. Would have liked safety Nick Cross at 93, but I love Ty from LSU, especially we were hurt at Oh, okay, I get it. We were hurt at halfback last year. Love Gray at 105. Today should be fun. Thanks, Mike and Tony. Tony, you want to take this first?
Yeah. First off, thank you for the super chat. I agree with you at 93 with Cross, and I pretty much just basically said that and the same exact thing. But what they did is they take the bread and butter of this offense, which is the main staple of how this offense operates, and that is the run game. And if the run game's going, you're protecting Trey Lance. You're making things easier for Trey Lance. So,
No, I said, come on now. I'm agreeing with you. We have to remember that we have a first-year guy that's about to take over, and a very young mentally guy, too. I understand that he's been playing football a little bit. He's got a season under his belt, but this guy's 21 years old. He just turned 21. He can't even buy a beer. He don't even know what kind of – go ahead. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to cut you off, but I'm agreeing with you.
Like, with that being said, like, we're very heavy play-action pass offense, so that means you need a good run game. Injuries, there's a ton of injuries to our running back room every single season. So you're solidifying the depth, you're making it better. And not to mention, like I said it earlier with James Hasty, when he comes, not a knock against him, but he's not a full-time back. When he comes on the field, the offense tends to bog down because he's one of those, shifty, quick shifty, slide right, slide left, quick runners. And then he has his speed. And Kyle likes decision makers. Lock in, see it, make a decision, commit, go. And that's not what Hasty is. He's more of the Barry Sanders type, like shifty right to left side guy. So the offense got better. It got easier for Trey Lance. So that's what you want. It's all about the NFL draft, and especially the NFL draft. I'm not even talking about free agency. The NFL draft is created to make your team better, cheaper, make it better for cheaper without committing large dollars to free agents, right? They're young, you invest, you train them, you develop them, you get them to where you want to be and become the player who you want them to be. And this is what happens. So I think, my personal opinion, our running back room right now is deeper than the running back room at this time of the year than it was last year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I like
And
it.
don't forget, I honestly have a feeling Anthony Lynn could have been behind this pick because of the style of the way this guy runs. Physical. Big physical runner.
Yeah, that's one of my thoughts. Like, is this an Anthony Lynn pick? Where did the Matt comment go? Damn, I lost it, man.
I'm back.
He says, oh, here it is. I wonder if this is the death knell for Sermon or if this is a fundamental shift in the type of backs they want to use. Mitchell, Sermon, and Price are almost opposite of what Mostert and Breida were. And that's something that you got to think about, right? If you go back and you watch that game that Sermon played against Seattle, he wasn't bad. He was not bad at all.
Oh.
I still, for the life of me, cannot figure out why he couldn't get more reps. He was very consistent, steady Eddie. You do see more hesitation and dancing behind the line of scrimmage, but it's minimal compared to what Elijah Mitchell does in comparison to those two. I just don't know if that was enough of a reason to not play this kid. I didn't get it. But I'll be honest with you, Matt. I have to be completely honest with you. I do think this is a change in philosophy. I do think this is a shift. We're not so. Hear me out. Matt Breida, Raheem Mostert played with Jimmy Garoppolo, the guy who didn't want to get the ball downfield. So you need the explosion coming from the backfield. Hence why Deebo Samuel did what he did last year. Now we're in a position where the explosion can come from the quarterback's arm and the wide receivers. Bigger explosion, bigger plays because of that. Okay, so that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm thinking personally, that they're changing it up. We had to have that explosion back there. Matt Breida and Raheem Mostert were 1A, 1B, or 1A, B, and C at the fastest time for track ball carriers every time they played with the Niners. It wasn't by a mistake. And that was also during a time where the 49ers had a little bit of limitation at the quarterback position as far as throwing the ball downfield. You need the explosion coming somewhere. There has to be an explosive factor in this offense. It was George Kittle until they started putting 3 people on George Kittle when he went across the middle, right? So you have to still drum it up somehow. This was Kyle Shanahan working with the limitations and restrictions of his players and then saying, hey, we can do this, we can do that. And as they transition away from Jimmy Garoppolo, they're going to start to add these explosive pieces on the outside. You're going to see a different type of wide receiver in Brandon Ayuk. You're going to see a different type of wide receiver in Danny Gray. You're going to see a different type of wide receiver in Deebo Samuel. You're going to see different elements of their games now because we are here and we're ready to throw this ball all over the field. You got to cover all the blades of grass now with Trey Lance's arm, his running ability, with the running backs that we have, and this physical offensive line that's coming in here. We're going to punch you in the mouth, and then take shots over your head. We're going to keep defenses running, spinning, and guessing all game long. I love it. I absolutely love it. All right, a couple more super chats here. Mark says, if the running back pick saves Deebo with 49ers, it's good. All right. So I kept saying this online. I thought it was a joke, but I think people are actually like thinking that Deebo saying, I don't want to play running back so much meant that the Niners had to go and draft a running back. I don't think they cared what Deebo said. We're not drafting a player for Deebo. We're drafting a player for the 49ers. If Deebo said, hey, I want to switch positions to running back, that's a little different, right? But he's still going to be used that way this year. There's still going to be times where Deebo's out wide and then they bring him back in behind the line of scrimmage. That's not going to change. So, and Deebo's status isn't going to be changed by anybody that we drafted either. I really don't think so. I don't know if we want to get into this. And I only got 5 minutes. Listening to Kyle Shanahan yesterday at that post-draft presser, Deebo better cut the bullshit. He better cut it out. Kyle don't sound like he's sitting here worried about this guy and whatever. And I heard Kyle say, yeah, we were disappointed in his social media antics. Deebo better cut it out. That's all I'm going to say. They did entertain offers. They didn't get any offers that were fair. And so that's why he's still here. But he better cut it out. Ryan, thanks for the super chat as well. He says, when has the media known which way our front office is leaning outside the first round? Front office doesn't leak info. Media acts like they have guys on the inside. Yes, this is something that you see all the time, right? When people say, oh, this guy, Price, wasn't the best player available. According to who? According to their draft board, what if he was? Honestly, what if he was? I might not agree with it, right? But maybe they do. Maybe this is the guy that they see that they have as a high. Everyone doesn't have the same draft board. If everyone had the same draft board, then we would know exactly who was going to get picked where. It's a reason why there's surprises in every draft. There's a reason teams move up and down. They have all different types of things going on. We can't sit here and just act like we know what the Niners are thinking or what any other team is thinking for that matter. So I think we got to caution ourselves with what we're saying and what we're thinking when reflecting on the draft, right? Now, that does not mean you have to be happy with everything, but can you at least come up with a reason to justify it? And that's what I did last night. And I was told I was caping. So I don't know. But maybe you shouldn't justify everything, right? Callie Young, thanks for the super chat. He says, we still don't have a home run threat at running back. I don't know, man. I don't know if that's true. We'll have to see. We will have to see. I think our running backs are faster than people give them credit for. But I don't know if you're looking for that anymore. I was just talking about that a couple minutes ago. I don't know if you're looking for that anymore. Now, the home run threat should come from the outside, not from the backfield. But I get it. I do get it. We were used to that. We got spoiled with Breida and Raheem Mostert. We absolutely did. But I do understand what you're saying. It's not too late. There's still my guy from Rutgers that's out there. You know, he is a legit 4.2, 4.29, 4.31 guy. Like that's real. So it's very, very possible we can go out there and get Pacheco. I don't know if that's what they're looking for anymore. But if someone like that were to get picked up by the Niners, it would be at the end of the draft or undrafted free agents, I think. And then another one here, another super chat from 49er Jeff, and then we got to get ready to get out of here, man. I think we need to address the offensive line in these later rounds, whether it's center, guard. Also, I like the running back pick. Our running back room wasn't so solid last season. I think people forget that, Jeff. I really, really do. I think people forget how we were sitting around like, why are they only using Mitchell? You could tell he was tired or whatever. They weren't even like giving this kid any relief. They just kept him out there all the time. And then when they did switch it up, it was Hasty on third downs. And we were scratching our heads at that. Like, what is happening? So, yes, absolutely we needed it. But, Tony, do you want to address the first part of this? This will be the last comment, and then we'll get ready to switch over to the other room. I think we need to address the offensive line in the late rounds, whether it's
I think definitely they're drafting a center today, and I said it before. So if he's not going to start, he's going to be groomed to start. I just found out that Monday, effective I think 4 p.m. or is it 12 p.m., that any signings at this point forward, effective that time, does not count towards your compensation pick. So this is going to be the scenario where you might see a Tyrann Mathieu drop off the board, a J.C. Treader drop off the board, and sign with teams because it's not penalizing those teams when it comes to their comp picks for losing big name players. Like I think basically we're getting 2 comp picks. I think there are 2 or 3 comp picks just from our free agents between Tomlinson, Key, and I forgot who the other guy was. But we will get stuff in return, and now we could add these pieces, and then I'd be interested to see if they announce the retirement once, if J.C. Treader's the guy that they're signing, or I think they looked at Mitch Morse or something. They looked at a couple guys to bring in at center. So I think that could be a scenario where Mac officially hangs it up. And as far as the running back, I agree with that. I listen, that's the bread and butter of this team. That's what makes this offense goes. You got to add to it. You got to keep adding talent to it. And we all know the way Kyle is. Listen, Sermon comes out, has a huge game. He's riding the hot hand. Okay, but now Mitchell's going to come out and have a hot game. Or 3rd and 7, who would you rather have out of the backfield? Hasty or Mitchell? Mitchell proves that he could run the ball, catch the ball out of the backfield, and pretty much was the starter up until a certain point, due to injuries or whatever the belief may be. But you're adding another weapon to it. I don't think there's going to be one guy. It's going to be a committee, and they're going to go with the hot hand. Draft is about to start. Mike, if you want, and we'll switch it.
Yep. We'll see you guys on the other channel. Head on over there right now. The room is already created. We're going to be right in there as soon as this one's over. We'll see you guys there.